Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Savvy Training panel with some amazing people and information to share. My name is Doug Stryker, CEO of Savvy Training, and we are here for the Savvy Influencer panel. Today is Wednesday, January 25th. As a reminder, this is being recorded. What are these Savvy Influencer panels and why are you here? Well, as many of you in the audience know, we at Savvy like to provide content beyond our content library and learning management system and training services, and we also provide semi-monthly public webinars on a topic of somewhat global interest. But for 2023, we wanted to provide something really, really special, and that is this, a panel of your peers discussing a topic that is hopefully of interest to you and your firms. We picked managing training and HR compliance across state lines because it is a topic that feels timely and relevant. And frankly, we've got 4 terrific panelists who suggested it. So for everybody in the audience, as we think about what our Q2 topic should be, we honestly welcome your interest and involvement. And if you're ready for the prime time, let me know. We would love to have you on a panel this year. With that being said, I would like to introduce today's panel, Myra and Carla from Eckert Seamans, Dan from Nelson Mullins, and Don from Butler Snow. Starting with Myra and Carla, and then Dan and then Don, please inform the audience who you are, where you work, your title, and the size of your firm. After those introductions, we're going to go back around and have each of them talk through their programs, and all the while, we will be watching the chat panel for questions and hopefully be able to answer any of those as we go along. With that, Myra and Carla, you have the floor.
Thank you, Doug. And thanks to everybody at Savvy for today's presentation. It's an honor to be here on the inaugural panel. So thank you very much. As Doug mentioned, my name is Myra Kilgore. I am the Chief Human Resources Officer for Eckert Seamans, and I will be proudly celebrating my 20th anniversary with the firm on February 7th, coming up here shortly. And my cohort in crime here is Carla Healy. Carla, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Doug and Savvy and everyone for having us. My name is Carla Healy. I am the firm's Learning and Development Manager, and I've worked at Eckert Seamans now for 18 years, and I'm based in the Pittsburgh office. And be surprised to know, when I first started 18 years ago, I started in the information technology department as a help desk analyst and got promoted to a training coordinator. And in 2019, I was very lucky and transferred to the Human Resources Department, where I play a big part in the development and creation of a lot of the programs in the Savvy Learning Management System.
Thank you.
Yes, and we'll learn much more about that. Just to tell you a little bit about Eckert Seamans, we are a full-service national law firm. Our footprint is in the Northeast. We have 15 different offices, physically in 7 different states. Our primary office, where Carla and I are both located, is in Pittsburgh, and we have approximately 300 attorneys across the firm, with about 500 at this point in time in total. So this is a little bit about the firm. Doug?
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Dan, please.
Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you're from. My name is Dan Bressler, one of the senior technology coaches at Nelson Mullins, Riley, and Scarborough. For short, just Nelson Mullins, easier to say. I used to be with a firm called Broad & Cassell for about 17 or 18 years, and then we were based in just Florida. And now Nelson Mullins, about 5 or 6 years ago, merged with Broad & Cassell, and now we're just Nelson Mullins. And since then, we've acquired a bunch of other offices. We have a total of 31 offices nationwide, over 1,000 attorneys. There's 31 offices and over 1,800 employees throughout the United States. So you can imagine the training nightmares that occur, and I'll go over some of those a little bit later. But thank you, Savvy, for including me in this panel. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. And last but certainly not least, Don.
Hi, Dawn Anderson. I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum from Myra, who has got the long tenure with her organization. I have about 2 months at my firm, Butler Snow. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer for the firm. We are a national firm, again, counterpoint to Myra, primarily in the Southeast. We are full service from defense litigation to regulatory, labor and employment, etc. We have 26 offices in 11 states with about 400 attorneys and 700, 800 people total. But I'm delighted to be here and appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Amazing. So by my quick count, the 4 of you are servicing well over 60 individual offices and well over, what, 2,500 humans? That sounds like a lot of work. So with our topic today of managing HR across state lines, I think is very relevant with the the size and breadth of your firms. How the heck do you do it? I mean, honestly, we inquiring minds want to know. So Myra and Carla, if you don't mind, just sort of walk us through your program, your obstacles. How do you handle what you do?
Sure, no problem. So essentially, I would say that we look at compliance in 3 different ways. So there's the government regulation, right? So federal, state, local, and with so much being pushed down anymore to the state and local level, it's just never ending, right? And then we have the pressures of the clients, right? So there are client requirements, from IT to inclusion to various different things. So we have to be aware of that as well. And then there's our internal compliance. So those are our policies and procedures. Things like right now we're trying to get certified through ISO. So I've been working with our IT director because there's various policies, different things we need to do, training, etc. So I would say that those are kind of the 3 things if we're breaking them out. And we've done a couple different things. One is a few years ago, we realigned our department in HR. We brought in a general HR manager, and I would say one of the top 3 primary focuses, one of those is compliance. So it is her responsibility to make sure if there is any new ban the box, if there is a new paid sick leave, if there is, she's to, kind of stay on top of that, make sure that if it's, for example, ban the box, that those in recruitment are fully aware that we've taken all the precautions, watch things as they go through, see where we are, kind of prep, be ready for things. If we need to follow up with attorneys to see what's where, that sort of thing. So we realigned it. So instead of everyone kind of being responsible for their own areas I mean, everyone's still kind of responsible, but we've rolled that up, and so that we have someone that's definitely on top of it. I don't know about you, but I always find it ironic when you talk to colleagues in other industries, and they're like, oh, you're so lucky you get to work with a law firm and all these lawyers, so you don't have to really keep up on that, right? But, being the non-paying client, they don't realize we have to do cartwheels down the hall with our hair on fire, right, to get their attention. So that's just one way we try to change some things so we make sure we're on top of things as they are happening. The other thing is, even if you're on top of things, that's just one piece of it, right? So managing all of that is a totally different ballgame, right? And that's where Carla and the learning management system that we put in place come in. And that's when we did the realignment a few years ago. We created the learning and development. That's when Carla came over from the IT world and into our world, because obviously there's a lot of crossover. And then we got the learning management system, because there are a lot of, I mean, not that I have to tell any of you. So for example, the sexual harassment, we are in 2 states that require sexual harassment training. Oh, no problem. Let's just make everybody do sexual harassment training once every year. Well, not so simple when some of the requirements for those states or specific to that state. So you just can't do that, right? So not to mention policies. Our equity members are owners, they're not employees. So we have policies that they may not pertain to them. So we can't just blindly send things out. So, but we want to create a nice, neat package to our end user. So how do we do that? We created the CARE program, CARE, C-A-R-E, and that stands for Consideration, Awareness, Responsiveness, and Education. Now, we made it generic, so basically we can fit anything in there, right? Kind of. So what does it consist of? It consists of the sexual harassment training. It consists of our IT security awareness training. It consists of inclusion training. And then it also consists of, at this time, any miscellaneous acknowledgements that have to happen annually, whether it's our policies and procedures, whether it's the technology policy, whether it's Sarbanes-Oxley, regardless of what it is. So we tie it up into a nice, neat package so that every quarter we are delivering one training program through our LMS to everyone across the firm. Now, Carla manages and leads that, and she's going to talk a little bit more about how that happens, because again, everyone has a different package to some extent. 90% of the people is probably identical, but there are a lot of different pieces. So how does that get to the end user in a nice, neat package once a quarter? So that's the first thing we did. And then we created the technology education program, which also has a couple different facets that I'm going to let Carla explain. But the technology education program is more of an internal compliance, right? So that is something that we got to a point a few years ago where we had some attorneys retire, and we were realizing that some of our legal assistants, because they had worked with a certain group of attorneys for so long, their skills, their technical skills were not at the level, let's face it, some basic levels, because the needs of their specific attorneys that they had worked with for so long, they weren't needed, okay? So we noticed this, ironically, this all happened we rolled this program out in 2019, which ended up being a wonderful thing once the pandemic hit. But the technology education program was born out of that. And we wanted to find a way to make sure that to see where our legal assistants were. So we did some baseline testing with them through the LMS. And then from there, everyone had to pass, and they had multiple opportunities. This was not to be negative or in any way. This was to encourage them to learn and get them up to where they needed to be if they were not. And then from there, we would create an annual curriculum to ensure that this did not happen again. And so that every person would have at least the basic training. And then we've taken in another iteration with a certified application specialist program. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Carla, and she will kind of explain a little bit more about how she manages all of that so wonderfully. Carla?
Thank you, Myra. And as Myra mentioned, I'm very proud of all three of these programs. When we first were talking about it in 2019, and I look at where we've come today, it's just such a huge progress and how much appreciative the firm is and learning every year, new applications. The CARE program is something I wanted, as Myra mentioned, I wanted to talk about first. And that is where we have our firm-wide quarterly training, which consists of, as Myra mentioned, our security awareness training and our inclusion training. And then every year, we have our annual harassment training. Well, it sounds easy, but putting it all together, it takes a lot of people. The HR department and the IT department, all are part of it, giving sending us, first of all, the recordings, and it all has to, any recording that we distribute, they have to be approved. So all of us have, there's our department does have to review all of the recordings. Also, I don't know if someone has their mute on, it sounds like. I don't know if you can see who has the mute on. There we go.
You can see you have the mute on. Here we go.
Oh, okay. With that, there's different elements with all the training, because each training course, there's different enrollments, as Myra mentioned. And what I mean by the security awareness training, everyone in the firm is enrolled in the security awareness training, and that includes like office services or independent contractors. So that, you know, anyone that has an email account is required to complete the security awareness. So that's a whole different, you know, group of users that have to complete that training. And then you have the inclusion training, which is everyone, which includes like the attorneys and the staff. And then, as Myra mentioned earlier, I don't want to repeat it, the sexual harassment. There are different laws in different states, such as New York and Delaware. So those enrollments, you have to be careful because you want to make sure that everyone is enrolled in the proper training. And what's great about the learning management system that we found is the reporting. Reporting is amazing because you can generate, the training is required and needs to be completed in 30 days. And with the reporting, you can easily just, Myra can go in, any of us can go in at any time in the Savvy Learning Management System and print a report. And we have some, and Myra, you could talk a little bit more about the, you know, if the training's not completed, we do have some things that happen, and you can talk about that. It's not that they're going to get away with this, not completing the training. I mean, they do get their email, they can get their email turned off. So it is a little, it gets a little bit dicey towards the end of that. We give them a few reminders when we get close. So, and then the firm's policies and procedures. Well, an equity member is not going to get a policy that a staff gets. So I have to be careful, and all these policies and procedures are completed by HR, you know, Myra and the HR manager, and I have to be careful who when I enroll everyone in, because it all pertains to their title. The next program is the Technology Education Program, which is great, you know, something that we rolled out, as Myra mentioned, in 2019. We started with the baselines to get an idea of, you know, where the legal assistants all, you know, their level and where they are and where they needed training. So that really helped us determine, you know, if they needed training, they can, you know, they could take additional training in Savvy. If they, you know, and also if they even needed additional training after that, we could schedule some one-on-one training with myself. After the baseline assessment, we came up with the annual curriculum. And we started off with the legal assistants, paralegals, and now we even have our accounting and billing department that are required to complete the annual training that we put together using the Savvy content. And Terry, you are wonderful every year. She helps, we use the Savvy questions, and also I generate some questions based on our environment. And she goes through every single one of those questions for me, just making sure they make sense. And then we roll it out, and we give our users about 6 months to complete the training. And they have to complete the training in with an 80%. And it is, and Myra can talk a little bit more, it is part of their evaluation and review, meaning money. So it is important to them. What's funny is they complain in the beginning, but I've had so many of them at the end of the day come to me and say, I know I didn't want to do this training, but thank goodness I had an attorney give me a request in Adobe, and now I know how to use that functionality. So they are appreciative at the end whenever they finish the training. But here's some gripes in the beginning, but they're used to it and they have learned so much. Now I get a lot of the feedback, and they put the annual curriculum together based on the firm, the users. It's not that I just come up with these ideas, you know, from legal assistants griping, hey, why don't we use more, you know, have more Word training or Outlook training. Even the attorneys, you know, our assistants need trained in table of authorities. So the annual curriculum comes, is created and developed by Eckert Seamans. And then I get their ideas, and then I work with our, and I'm going to talk about our certified application specialists, and we come and I talk with Myra and the office managers, and we come up with this curriculum, which includes like 4 training classes every year. And we included also the webinars as well. And then along with the technology education program, we have what's called like TE rewards, which just allows the firm, anyone in the firm, to just take additional training. And if they complete any content in Savvy and they pass with an 80%, we have these wonderful like swag gifts. They can earn a credit. And this is quarterly. We tally up the rewards, and we send a fun communication letting them know that, hey, you have 20 rewards. You can turn it in for, like some of the swag that we, prizes. So we do have some incentives along, that go along with the technology education program. And then lastly is the certified application program, which is something that we developed as a team, and we provide experts, to the firm. And we have a total of 10 experts and specialists. And the curriculum, we have four specialists in Word, and we have 2 in Excel, 2 in PowerPoint, and 2 in Adobe. And this just provides the firm with those hard times when, they have an Excel project and when they don't know how to use like an if formula, where these specialists, they have studied, and the curriculum is created using the Savvy content. Once again, it's not easy. They have to pass with a 90%. They can only miss like 5 questions. And we give them like 90 days to study for it. It's just like any type of a certification. So we came up with our own Eckert Seamans certification program. And it's really has taken off, and I think has helped the firm with productivity. And having these experts, it just saves, them a lot of time struggling to complete these projects. And what else is nice about the certified application program is there's an incentive. They do receive $2,000. So yeah, they could be a certified application specialist in the same program for 3 years. And I know you want to be one, right, Dan? Money always talks, right? So then they can also they have to renew their membership though every year. They have to take that exam, which is 50 questions. And Terry has also reviewed all of my questions, and her help has been fantastic. So like I said, it's just not an easy, like I want to be a certified application specialist. They do have to prep for it and take an exam. And take it over to you, Myra. Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think you missed anything. I just want to elaborate on 2 quick things. One, in regards to the quarterly care training, you mentioned that we turn people's email off. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I didn't mean it like that.
We do give you 30 days to complete the training. It is required, because that is the piece where most of that, some of it's required by the government, some is required by clients, and some is required by us, okay? So you have to do it. So we all work with attorneys. We know how that is. So how do you get them to actually do it? Well, we give them 30 days. At that time, we give them a 10-day extension, all right? If they do not meet that 10-day extension, and they know this up front, it is told from day one. If it's an attorney, their member in charge, their practice group leader, the division leader, everybody gets an email, everybody is aware. If it is not complete by the end of the extension period, when we say we turn off your email, obviously for client purposes and everything, we can't turn your email off. But what we do is you can't send out an email. They still come in, the client has no idea, okay? There's no idea. They still receive, they're not missing a beat, okay? But they can't send out. It makes it inconvenient, all right? So we have actually, and people always say, do you actually do it? I've done it 3 times, 3 different attorneys have had their email shut off because I don't think they think we will really do it, even though we tell them and everybody that we'll do it. So it has been effective. And as soon as the word gets out that it's actually been done, it's pretty much immediate compliance. So that's how, just to clarify that we are doing that. The other piece is on the technology education, on the annual curriculum that is required by legal assistants, paralegals, and our accounting team. There is, if you have to complete it within the 6-month period and get an 80%, and you can take it up to 3 times to get that 80%. So there's lots of opportunity. You can go talk to Carla. We can give you study materials, whatever the case may be. But if for whatever reason you do not do it and do not pass within that time frame, 25% of your increase will be your annual increase will be deducted by 25%. So in other words, if you're scheduled to get a 4% increase, then you actually get 3%. I have never had to do this. Okay.
Mm,
But that it is a piece, it is a required piece of your curriculum, because we want to make sure that everybody has those basics and is keeping up with their technology abilities. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify on that.
No,
So thank
that's
you.
great. That's great. Thank you. You both are amazing. I think what's really illuminating from where I sit is this true symbiotic relationship between human resources and training and the buy-in from leadership in order to have both the carrot and the stick, and the folks who know that their email is about to get shut off. Like, there's conversations happening behind those doors that they knew this was coming, and it's on them. I think it helps draw attention to individual ownership. I wrote down a few questions that I think we'll get back to. Hopefully we've got a little bit of time. But I also encourage our audience to drop questions in the chat, or the questions, whatever it's called, in whatever web conferencing service we're in today. Go to. But you guys are amazing. Thank you. I want to flip real to Dan, give him some time to share about what's going on at Nelson Mullins, and then to Don, and we'll sort of see different perspectives. And I think that's where the richness of this comes from.
Well, before I get started, Myra and Carla, what did CARE stand for again? Can you repeat that? That was really good. I wanted to just jot that down.
Sure. It's consideration, awareness, responsiveness, education.
Got it. All right. That's great. So we're trying to come up with an acronym ourselves for training purposes, and that we're going to start with that and work off it. We won't steal it from you. Okay, well, just to give you a perspective of what it is like from a training perspective, and Carla, you touched on a lot of points that we are utilizing as well in our firm environment. I wish we could do the incentive plan. I've been trying to do that for a while, but it just hasn't taken hold yet. But I'll get to that in a few minutes. We have a lot of people spread across the country, and it's difficult to train all of them, get them compliant, especially with HR videos. And I want to just dive into magnify that a little bit, put that under the microscope. When someone is hired in our firm, doesn't matter what their job title is, they are required to watch 3 videos, 2 or 3 videos, depending on your job title. One of them is a conduct in the workplace video. Another one is an ethics video, firm ethics video. And the third one is the security video. And that security video is an annual requirement. I know, Myra, you touched on having a requirement for a lot of videos each year. The only one that we usually require for users to watch every year, because things change constantly in regards to security, is the security video. In fact, we're finishing up right now our in-house custom security video that we created each year. All the videos are customized by us. We use Adobe Captivate, or we just purchased iSpring for PowerPoint, which is pretty cool. But when we publish those videos, they are going to have multiple slides, and that allows our LMS to determine how far they've gotten. And if you know how an LMS works, it will figure out how far you've gotten, how much percentage of the video that you've watched, and it will let us know and their managers know, hey, this person's got it all finished. They're ready to go. Now, we used to keep track of that in our LMS. We were the ones required to look every week, go in and see who's done it, who hasn't, and then report to the managers. But as technology has gotten better, now we can put that responsibility onto the managers. They go into the LMS as sort of a half administrator. They have rights to do sort of administrative things, and they are allowed to go in and see the users and find out, yep, this person has not completed the video, and kind of give them a little nudge. Now, we don't shut off their email like some people do, but if they do not comply with watching those HR videos within 7 days, we do give them a little nudge and let them know that they need to complete it. If not, they just get reported to the manager, and they make sure that they watch those videos. Now, with the security video, that's a little bit more punishable by law, let's put it that way. If they don't watch the video by a certain deadline, Like let's say we publish the video on February 1st and they're required to watch it by March 1st. They got 30 days to do it, plenty of time. But not everybody does that. So what we do is actually turn off their internet access, not for work-related sites, but for non-work related websites. If they want to check their Facebook status, or they want to go to CNN and see the news, or they want to go to their favorite cooking, whatever sites that are not work related, that get blocked. And that will trigger them to call the help desk and say, hey, why is my internet? Oh, you haven't watched the security video. Oh, okay. Then they watch the video, they comply, they, IT flicks a button back on, and then their internet access is restored. So that's the way we do things for HR compliance. We do have one person in our general counsel office who does the conduct in the workplace video and the ethics video. She does a really good job. She's a talking head on camera, but she has a PowerPoint running at the same time. So you'll see her in the upper left corner and the PowerPoint slides as she's speaking. So it basically gives everybody the information they need that's compliant and is approved by our general counsel. Let's see, what else? Did the analytics and reporting?
Yeah, I do want to comment on that because that's great that you guys do your own internal videos, honestly, because that's something we ran into an issue with. The original vendor we had for the videos for the sexual harassment, they provided the different groupings. Okay, so there was a general one, which we gave to everybody where it was not necessarily required in the state, by the state. But for the 2 states where it required it, they had one specific to those 2, right?
Yeah.
But what happened was they were not updating those every year. So we were stuck with the same video. And even if things don't change, and if the laws don't change, you still need to change the video. We can't give the same video every year. So to your point that you guys didn't necessarily run into that, but those of us who do not do our own videos, that's an issue that if you are looking at a vendor, you will want to make sure that even if there are not legislative changes, that they're still going to have an updated version of the video.
Right. Our conduct video actually had, the old one was about 45 minutes long. The new one's about 25 minutes long. But the reason why our original one was 45 minutes long is because it was one that we had purchased, and they actually had actors who act out certain situations. You try to figure out what's wrong in this situation. Oh my gosh, those people had haircuts from the 70s and they talked like they were from the 70s. They went to places with decor that was back in the 70s. It was just, you could tell that, oh my gosh, this is 20 years old. We need to update it now. So that's what groovy. Yeah, it's groovy, baby. Yeah, exactly. One thing about those videos too, we found that some people were actually cheating watching the videos because there was a play bar at the bottom and they could click in the middle of the play bar or the end of the play bar to fast forward to the end, and the LMS recorded, oh, you watched the last slide, you're good to go. Wrong. So what we do now is we disable the play bar, we disable the fast forward or skip or whatever the button is, and the only controls that they have is a pause button, a rewind, and a restart, and that's it. So they have to watch the video. And our LMS is configured, we didn't know this until we got it, but if they put on the video to watch and then they say, you know what, I'm going to check my emails while this is going on, they open up an email and it goes on top of that video, the video just, it pauses. You can't work above that video and not continue and finish and meet the requirements. So that is kind of a nice feature. They have to complete at least 85% of the video in order to comply. The other thing that we do, just real quick at the end, if you have any questions about the videos or how we do it, I'll be happy to answer those at the end. But one of the things that I was asked to mention is during the training, how we handle training, because we had so many issues with especially administrative assistants who would be interrupted during training. Hey, you done yet? Hey, you done yet? I need you to do this. I need you to file this. I need you to work on this document. Leave me alone. I'm in training. So what we do is while we're training them in Outlook, we'll go through the features of Outlook that we have customized at Nelson Mullins. But the last thing that we do is show them how to do an out-of-office assistant message. And we will configure it and ask them to do it so that a message goes out within the days that they're being trained. Hey, don't bother me. I'm busy. I'm in training. We don't word it like that, but you get the idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So that everybody who emails them will get an instant message saying, sorry, I can't get to your request right now. I will answer you as soon as I'm finished training, something like that. We have a script that we read to them, and they'll type it in and then send it so that it only gets sent during the time that they're in training. So we love doing that. Seems to have worked. And then we also include on our signature, the signature that we send out in every email has our slogan, knowledge is power, and the power is in your hands. And underneath that, there's a link that says, click here to schedule 15 minutes with a technology coach. So anytime they need training, they can click on that button, it'll send us an email, and one of us will jump right on it. So that's just a little aside there that I thought was really good. So we're always continuing to improve our training methods, but in a nutshell, how we handle the HR compliance is that we will do the instructor-led training and then show them where to find the videos in our LMS. They'll get an email with a link, and they'll be able to click on the conduct in the video workplace, conduct in the workplace, conduct in the workplace video, the ethics video, the security video. And then the managers will be able to go in and see if they have complied with the requirements. And that's all I have.
Hey, Dan, not quite.
Oh.
Quick question. So Myra, you talked about equity partner owners having one set of criteria given, and then everybody, whatever state they're in, state, local requirements, equity partner owners, W-2s. But Dan, I've got a note about contractors. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, right. We have many contractors that come into the firm. They'll have like 30-day assignments, maybe 90 days or 6 months. They are also required to watch the conduct in the workplace video because they are in our environment. They need to be compliant. So we let them watch the conduct in the workplace video. Now, when they're hired, the person, I don't know if HR does this or the manager does it. I'm not, part of that process, but we get something called the new user dashboard notification that says this person needs to watch this video, needs training in this area, and so forth. They'll outline it for us so that we can go on our LMS and assign the appropriate videos that they need to watch. But yeah, contractors are not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not
Included.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
They have to be included in watching those. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dan.
You're welcome.
Don, it's only been a few months, but I know that that's not all it's been with your experience. So please share with us your thoughts on all of this.
I appreciate the opportunity. So some of what I was asked to speak towards was how to assess the training gaps and figure out the best way to meet those gaps. And this goes from the required compliance training to just, this will make us a better firm training. And there are a lot of ways to identify that. Number one, you go through and you see what are required in your states. There are a lot of resources. SHRM publishes list of compliance training and links to the actual states. Your systems like your payroll system will actually usually include updates as new laws and regulations come into place. I'll hazard a guess that most firms have subscriptions to either Westlaw or Lexis. Talk to your librarian and put yourself on an alert list. I have alerts set up for each of the states that I'm in that allow me to be proactive. I know what's coming down the pike, and I know when I'm going to need to get the ban the box implemented or do the training for unconscious bias or for other programs that we need, or we need to add this piece to our New York training because that legislation changed, whatever. Other resources that will really help you that you may have not thought of is someone in HR ought to be looking at your exit interviews to figure out what feedback you're getting. That's when people will be the most honest and forthright. So when you find out that your person is leaving because they felt like they did not have an opportunity to take leave or to go back to school or to do whatever, or they just felt like they were being bullied or treated poorly, that's when you know I need to get this information out to the general public and make sure they know that within my firm. Survey your new hires. We're actually about to do a survey of all the people hired within the last 6 months to find out what would have made it even better. And I will give you these magic words that comes from a start, continue exercise. If you say, what did I screw up? Or please give me feedback, you usually get the blank stare of, it was fine, really it was fine. But if you say, make it even better, you're somehow giving that person permission to actually give real meaningful feedback. Because everybody wants to be a part of making something better. You're not trashing the current, but you're offering opportunities to improve for the next person. It would have been better if I'd had this training earlier, or no one showed me how to do this. What I love about Savvy training, bar none, is the ease in developing quick training, recording it, and uploading it. It is so easy, I could do it, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. As you may or may not know, PowerPoint has evolved to the point that you can record a PowerPoint with a narration, and if you get halfway through it or all the way through it and you realize you slammed your finger in the door and said something you didn't mean to say, or someone yelled down the hall as you were in the middle of the slide, you can go back and re-record that individual slide, and it's as if it was seamless. We started this, I discovered this during COVID when we were bringing people back to the office, because my firm was pretty aggressive in that. And in doing so, we needed training quickly. And there wasn't anything on the shelf because the shelf hadn't been built yet, much less the training for it. So it was a great opportunity for us to realize just how robust the whole opportunity was to do training. From that, you know, I wasn't trained on that. Well, okay, now you are. I've recorded a 2-minute training on how to enter your time in Adirant and iTimekeep. Next excuse, please. And oh, by the way, while I'm an attorney, I didn't practice. I've never entered time. That is no excuse, but now I've removed even the resemblance of an excuse from you. Just enter your time, right? How many times have we said that? But those are things I've also, and it's been particularly useful for me in my current space because I've been with the firm not quite 2 months. And so what I spent my first 2 months doing is really doing meet and greets with the influencers in the firm, with the practice group leaders, with the naysayers, with the ones who think HR is a waste of time and are we sure, why do we need you? What are you doing again? I don't really need HR, my notes are fine. Those are the people that when you ask the question, what could we do to make Butler Snow even better? Those are the people that will give you those pressure points that you can be really effective. And once you gain that credibility, you've got it. Before I left my last firm, Hawkins Parnell, we actually went down the path similar to what Myra and Carla have done. In particular, we partnered with one of our equity partners and identified baseline training for everyone. And he was of the opinion, and I don't disagree, that everyone needed to at least get the Excel 101, Word 101, PowerPoint 101, because he says even if our attorneys never use it, they need to know what they could ask for. They know what it's capable of. So we set up learning paths for every man, woman, and child in the firm, and we did it based on a cadence of about 20 minutes max per month of some sort of training. We just kicked it off based on your job, and we kept it going for the next 6 to 9 months. They get an assignment every month in order to incent people to actually finish the training. Those that finish the training within the first 30 days within the first deadline, they were entered into a drawing for a $250 gift card. They're continuing to do that because I've stayed in touch. Those things that really help and kind of drive compliance a little bit better. I've found that short is better than long. People will sit through a 20-25 minute long training, but not an hour. So unless you have to do an hour, like in California, or 2 hour, then do the smaller increments. It's much more likely to be accepted and listened to. The other thing I have found is, in case you haven't noticed it, attorneys can be a bit of snobs. And if there is a training that references something that sounds corporate-y, well, that's not us. We're not a business. I gave up trying to convince them otherwise, but I found that if you either created your own training or found training that referenced firms and gave real life examples from law firms, it was much more likely to be integrated into everyday life. We used it for Mansfield certification to train on the requirements that go into that certification, as well as the typical harassment. The other piece we also used is when we brought in someone to do in-person training, because as you guys said, you can't do the same training every year. People get bored and they know the answers, but they're if it's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show and they're yelling out the dialogue, it's a problem. So we try to change it up a little bit. We were still able to track it and manage those online in-person trainings through the system as well, and it gave us a lot easier than somebody trying to take attendance and track it on a sheet of paper, an Excel sheet. The other things I was asked to mention is what are your resources? I was asked to kind of give a moment of new advice to new HR managers, which is something I found myself doing a lot. I taught the SHRM certification class for years, so it just comes natural. One is join SHRM. If you're in HR, even if you're in a law firm, join SHRM, at least the national, so you have access to the wonderful toolbox. Someone in your organization ought to be a member of SHRM. And associations like the Association of Legal Administrators are a godsend. They really help tremendously. You learn so much, and we share information and ideas, and kind of like Dan going, what was that acronym again? That goes on over and over again through those organizations. So I do encourage you to do that as well.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that. Dawn, I think I've got a question. So, and I'm looking at the attendees, and I think that most of the attendees in the audience on this call have a learning management system from a vendor, which is great. But one of the things that you all talked about was how to get training and compliance across state lines and up and down the food chain in terms of employees and owners, right? So that's the push of training outbound to those people. And then a part of it is the reporting that you get back from their completions or incompletions. And then I think you all said, you reference that information, every week or every month or 85%, to complete the course. What's the lift of getting, or is there, of getting the reporting back to the entities that are creating the compliance in the first place? Right? So do the states have reporting requirements that require an audit trail from your given LMS, or is it voluntary reporting? Do you understand my question? Don.
Hey.
Yes? Okay. So do you like, so what is it hard to take the reporting from the individuals or the states they're in back to those entities to prove that you've done the training?
Doug, for us, there is no reporting that we're doing through the LMS that we have to report on a regular basis. It would be, I guess, more of an ad hoc audited kind of situation.
Okay. Okay, I was curious. We got a couple questions from the audience. We've got about 7 minutes to go. Do you feel that training is, what's the benefit of self-paced training versus live training, whether it's in person or online? And let's go with.
I find that, I mean, they both have benefits, but what's nice about the online is they can do it at their convenience. That's another big part of, having the online training versus, having to attend a training at a specific time. But of course, the one-on-one training, most of the trainings today is via Zoom. And, we all work in a hybrid, environment. So the benefit, of course, would be just having the, ability to be able to chat, instantly or ask a question to that trainer at that moment. You can get that answer versus if you're doing online, you wouldn't have that live, feedback. That would be my opinion, but I think they both have advantages.
Dan, with the link at the bottom of your signature, how many people respond and schedule training with the coaches?
We've actually had several people respond. We get emails from time to time. You can tell they're coming from that signature because it'll say, this person has requested training, and then they'll put in the body of the message, I'd like some Excel training, or I need to learn how to put a PowerPoint together. So it really works. But most of the time, everybody knows our email address. You email technology.coaches@nelsonmullins.com. It's going to go to all 6 of us, and one of us is going to respond within 5 to 10 minutes. So either way, that really works. And to answer your question, when we did administrative assistant training years ago before COVID, that training was like 2.5, almost 3 days straight of training. And by the second day, at the end of the day, they're just, they're going and going and going and going, and they're not retaining. So one of the benefits, one of the silver linings of COVID, if there were any, is that the remote training allows us to train them on the material. And then since we created videos for most of the other applications that they can watch on their own, they get a break. They can step away for an hour, get a drink, go get some coffee, step outside, take a walk, take a nap, or can then come back and watch the video when they're fresh. They'll learn on their own. Some of our videos are actually interactive. They're not just watch and learn. It's here, you need to click this. This is how you use the software. Click the file tab, click open, click net, whatever it is, so that they get a feel for it. So I just had a comment from a new hire a couple of weeks ago who said that she just really loved that mixed learning where it's instructor led and then they can do the rest on their own. And she said that was phenomenal. She'd never seen anything like that.
Perfect. Don, I had a question. If you were giving advice to a new HR or any person, in the audience, how do you create a culture where there is credibility and confidentiality and permission to speak, truth power, as it were, on those new hire interviews and the exit interviews? How do you create that space for people to tell the truth?
There's a combination. One is doing, in some cases, some anonymous surveys. So actually having the information go into a forms collection survey where your data is going to be put in a lot of other people's data. The other is really establishing that relationship and with the individual so that they know they can talk to you. And doing that help us be better, help us to do even better. And there's a stop, start, continue exercise. If you've not done one, it's a phenomenal exercise you can Google it and work through it. But you do your events after projects or just periodically. What are we doing that we should stop doing? It looks good on paper, but it really doesn't work. Is there anything we should start doing? What would make it even better? And what are we doing right? What should we continue? So stop, start, continue. And when you put it into forms like an exercise, it kind of creates the sense that it's okay to be honest, it's okay to give feedback, but you have to be listening. You have to not judge, you have to not get defensive and respond, but you have to literally open yourself up for that feedback. This is not the time to argue, well, we did that, you just didn't see it. But to listen and go, I appreciate the feedback, thank you, which is hard.
In my old job before Savvy, when I was the CEO of a law firm, I would do staff meetings once a month, and I would open the suggestion box and read them cold. And I stopped doing that because it was truly insane, but very, very entertaining. Myra and Carla, how the response to the CARE program and the Certified Application Specialist program, what feedback specifically or generally have you had on, like, has that moved the needle of the firm?
I think it has. Like, I think Dan hit the nail on the head to some degree. The silver lining of the pandemic was getting people to do more online type requirements, videos and things, because they were extremely resistant to all that prior to the pandemic. I mean, again, timing's everything, right? I mean, we could not have timed it if we tried. That we rolled all of this out pretty much in 2019, and the beginning of 2020 is when the pandemic hit. So that was, I'll be honest, that was kind of the resistance in the beginning, because Carla spoiled them, to be quite frank, and they loved being able to have contact. But as you grow and, more locations, more people, just the diversity of everything and all the different trainings and just compliance issues that we talked about, it's just not possible. So we do try to do a blend. And even if it's not live, it is something that Carla, for example, she'll record a training, and it'll be her video. It won't be a vendor's generic training video. So we have a combination of both, and that has helped as well. So, and again, Carla's kind of infamous in our firm. She's a bit of a Hollywood starlet in the sense that we have, for example, what we call Wednesdays with Carla. So they're basically virtual office hours. So again, blending that virtual piece, but giving her accessibility to everybody in the firm on that one-on-one basis. So that, like I said, I think the timing was right, and that helped it. We probably would not be as far along with all of this if that hadn't happened, but that gave us the wave that we needed, and trust me, we rode it. So
amazing. Well, we are back at the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And a big genuine shout out to Myra and Carla and Dan and Dawn. Thank you so much for your time and your illumination and your guidance today. I know there were a few other questions that we didn't quite get to, so I'll address those afterwards. But I hope that everybody on the call learned something. And if you have follow-up questions, just give me a shout. And if you want to be on next quarter's panel and you have a great idea for a topic, please let me know, because we're always on the hunt for those. But everybody, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day and week. And to the panel, you guys are the best. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Doug.
you, Doug.
thanks, Doug. Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
afternoon.
Bye.
Thank you.